Another example of why I think recruitment and retention in teaching isn't going to be solved by just focusing on teachers' pay. This article really caught my eye. Excessive workload pushes teachers to switch to support roles. Nearly a third of teachers said there are former teachers working as support staff in their school, according to a Teacher Tapp survey. Which is essentially saying that there's loads of qualified teachers working education, rather than taking the role on as a teacher, are actually working as support staff. A third of teachers in this survey said they had a HLTA or TA with QTS who had previously taught. A quarter of teachers said there was a HLTA or TA who worked at their school who had QTS but had never actually taught as a teacher. What I don't want this video to be is a tit for tat where we talk about who's got it easier, who's got it harder between teachers and TAs. Both jobs are incredibly undervalued, underappreciated and overworked. Paul Whiteman says here, the fact qualified teachers have opted to become teaching assistants so they can maintain a work-life balance acts as a stark reminder of the negative impact excessive workload is having across the sector. But he then also says we should not lose sight of the fact TAs undertake vital roles, which they absolutely do. It's also said in this article that any notion that moving into a support staff role will mean an easy ride, it's well off the mark. Teaching assistants are underpaid, overworked, undervalued. It's unlikely a change of role will provide the release so many have hoped for. I've talked on numerous occasions about how teaching assistants are incredibly undervalued and are taking on greater responsibilities because of growing numbers of children with complex needs, a lack of support, lack of resources, teacher shortages where schools now will prey upon the goodwill of TAs and just sort of expect them to step up and plug gaps and cover classes and teach, even though they're not paid anywhere near enough. They're not compensated any other way. It's just expected because of, remember, you do this job for the kids. And even a report published by the DFE found that TA's roles and responsibilities have increased significantly in recent years. So what make clear, I'm not making it out that support staff have an easy ride. I think it's more difficult than ever before and a reason why we are struggling to recruit TAs as well. Well then, why is it that so many teachers are choosing to take on the role of a support staff, even though they are qualified to be employed as a teacher? I definitely think there's certain aspects of working within education at the minute that affects both teachers and TAs and are making our job harder. You think about the ever-growing behaviour issues in schools and the lack of support and help affects everyone, teachers and TAs. Growing number of children who are physically violent towards adults will affect both teachers and TAs. As mentioned before, the complete and utter failure when it comes to children with SEND needs is making both teachers and TAs' jobs a lot harder. So you could almost say the contact hours in education where you're in class with the children, those challenges affect everyone. I think the reason so many teachers are choosing to be support staff is because of everything that's expected of teachers outside of those contracted hours. Basically, the complete and utter lack of trust in teachers as professionals, where most of our time is being spent having to prove that we're doing the job the vast majority of us are capable of doing. And so it is that obsession with the accountability that plagues our profession that leads to this excessive workload for teachers outside of the contracted hours that I think is making a lot of teachers think, don't need that, don't want it. I love teaching. I love trying to help these children as much as possible, which is why a lot of them will then take the role as a support staff instead. And as we all know how chronically underpaid support staff and TAs are, people choosing to do that over being a teacher, I think shows that pay, whilst important, is not going to be the reason or the sole reason that sorts the retention and recruitment crisis. We need that sorting. And from the very top, there's been nothing that's happened to sort that, or that's ever happened and continues to happen day in, day out, is that just keeps going up and up and up.